Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. When it comes down to this Black Panther movie, many of these Afro-American Negroes have been whipped up into a frenzy. And they're so caught up in their own mania that they cannot even think straight. And the reason why so many of these Negroes are maniacal about this Black Panther movie is because they love white people. Now, when you take a look at this Black Panther character, Black Panther was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, two Jewish men. And the main reason why many of these Afro-American Negroes are so caught up in their emotions regarding the Black Panther is, again, because they love white people, and they believe if they go out here and support this black superhero created by two Jewish men, they will get white acceptance and white approval. This is the covert contract that many Afro-American Negroes have in their imaginations regarding this Black Panther movie, and this is why they believe they have to go out and support this movie with all their heart, all their soul, and all their mind. They believe that if they go out here and go defend this Black Panther movie and support this Black Panther movie, they are actually going out to defend the God that many deify and worship. And they believe if they support this movie, they will get approval from the God that they serve and they worship. I wonder, would many of these people be in the same type of frenzy if this was a black character created by a black creator? I don't believe they would, because most people would be trying to find ways to say that this character created by a black creator just isn't black enough. But the Black Panther, a character created by two Jewish men, is considered black enough. Think about that for a minute, because that's the logic that many of these Negroes have regarding this Black Panther. The Black Panther is a black character because he comes from an Africa from the view of two Jewish men, but a black character created by a black creator, they don't see that character as black. That shows me how completely dysfunctional the thinking of many of these Afro-American Negroes truly is. The main reason why they are into this frenzy is not because they're making a black superhero movie, because we had a black superhero movie with 1998's Blade, which was created by Wesley Snipes and adapted to fit Wesley Snipes. No, the reason why they're in a frenzy with Black Panther is because Black Panther represents white acceptance. Because when it comes down to the Negro, he's always looking for white validation, white approval, and some sort of statement of love from white people, because the Negro loves white people. And him supporting the Black Panther movie is him looking for love from white people, because the Negro loves white people. That's why they're so whipped up in a frenzy over this movie, and some of them are so dysfunctional, they're sitting there talking about this is the first black superhero movie ever, when we have historical facts which show us that we had 1998's Blade, and before that we had Spawn and we had Steel. But, excuse me, in their mind, Black Panther is the first black superhero movie. No, Black Panther is the first Marvel Studios black superhero movie, and the first black superhero we saw in a Marvel Studios movie was actually War Machine back in Iron Man 2. So, all these Negroes getting whipped up into this frenzy, it really makes no sense unless you take a look at the Afro-American Negro's dysfunctional mindset and his view of white people. Once you understand their viewpoint of white people and how they deify and worship white people, you then understand that the reason why they are so whipped up into a frenzy is because they love white people, and they want to take this black character created by white people and elevate it to a high position because they believe if they elevate this character to a high position, that means God loves them, God will bless them, and then God will then grant them more opportunities at seeing black characters in other movies. That's the covert contract that they have regarding this Black Panther movie. They don't see it as a superhero movie. They see it as a ticket into white acceptance. And they see it as a way of getting love from the white man that they worship. Because again, I asked that question once again. If this character were created by a black creator like myself, would these same Negroes be whipped up into this frenzy? If a black creator like myself were to have made a movie featuring a character like the Black Panther, would they be this emotional over it to the point where they're literally tripping over their own words in the comments section of videos critiquing it, or going out of their way to try to flag down videos like Professor Black Truth when he made the video breaking down what the Black Panther was all about in a classic video he did about a couple of months ago? Would they be going berserk like they are talking about the Black Panther like they are, where they're literally tripping over themselves, making no sense on Facebook? Would people be going out of their way to spend hundreds of dollars on tickets to take classes or community groups to this Black Panther movie if a black creator was the one in charge? I don't believe they would do that. I don't believe they would be whipped up into that frenzy, because I look at the way people treated Dwayne McDuffie's Static Shock. I look at the way they treated Wesley Snipes' Blade adaptation, and we did not see people whipped up into that kind of frenzy, because when they saw a black man's face at the forefront, we didn't see people getting that emotional. But the main reason I believe many of these Negroes are getting emotional is because they want that white acceptance, they want that white approval, and they believe the Black Panther is going to be that type of white approval. Because they talk about this event like it's something like 1984's The Cosby Show. And 1984's The Cosby Show, as I saw it, that was a major event. That was a milestone in black history, because when it came down to the image of black people in media before The Cosby Show, what happened was all we got were ghetto stereotypes and street stereotypes and hood stereotypes. And The Cosby Show gave us the first balanced and humanized image of African Americans in media. And because The Cosby Show was a success, what happened was it completely changed the image of African Americans in media. I don't see how the Black Panther is going to open any sort of doors when I take a look at Wesley Snipes, who opened the door for the entire superhero movie genre and kept it open so that studios like Fox could go out here and make movies like the original X-Men franchise. Sam Raimi could make Spider-Man. They could make the Dark Knight trilogy with Chris Nolan and David Goyer, and several other movies like Ang Lee's Hulk and Superman movies, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And all of that was done because Wesley Snipes kept the door open, but Wesley Snipes never got the credit he was due. But you have many of these Negroes whipped up into this frenzy, thinking that a door is going to be open for black superhero movies, when in actuality, if you look at the properties at Marvel and DC related to superheroes, there aren't that many properties left. And many of the properties that have black characters have already been adapted. Luke Cage has already had a TV show. Vixen has already featured on Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. Cyborg was already featured in the Justice League. So when we look at the Big Two's catalog of African American characters, most of them have already been featured in other properties. So where are we going to see all these new properties? And someone will say, oh, they'll open up the door for these other fantasy things, but they aren't really that popular, and these fantasy movies cost a lot of money. So I'm looking at it from the big picture, and I don't see where the door is going to be open with the success of Black Panther. I see a lot of Negroes whipped up into a frenzy, believing in rainbows and other sorts of imaginary concepts, and they're losing their minds, not thinking logically about the bigger picture as related to the African American image. Those of us who think about the bigger picture as related to the African American image understand that we've always had the power to create our own media. We've always had the power to create our own stories, and we have the tools to go out here and create it for ourselves. Unfortunately, too many are spellbound and believe in the white person's view of black, like the Black Panther, to go out and create the darker shade of black and create their own media, tell their own stories, and share those stories on their own platforms. All the resources have always been there, but the big problem with the mind of the Afro American Negro is that they love white people, they want white acceptance, they want white approval, and they believe if they support the white man's ICE or the white man's superhero, they will get white acceptance. Because I look at the big picture as the Black Panther movie, and that's what I'm seeing right now. I mean, you have all these black people whipped up into a frenzy over an African character created by two Jews, which is owned by a white company, Disney, which is making a film for a white company, Disney, which is going to be distributed to white movie theaters. And how does that help black people when you're taking black dollars and spending it to support a movie that was created by a white movie studio company featuring a black character which was created by two Jews? When you connect the dots, you don't see how this is some sort of milestone for black people, because yes, a black director got a job, a couple of black actors in Hollywood got a job, but that does not help the black community overall. I mean, how many black dollars are going into Disney's coffers as related to going out to those black actors, and how many of those black actors are looking out for the black community? That's the big question many black people need to ask. But when you break this down to the Negro, he can't understand this, and they go into ad hominem attacks, calling you a coon, calling you a sellout, calling you an Uncle Tom, saying things like you don't know what you're talking about, because they're whipped up in a frenzy because you're attacking them with logic and reason. You're presenting them with logic and reason, and you're showing the truth, which is most of these people love white people. They want the acceptance of white people, and Black Panther represents a covert way to get that love and acceptance from white people. The reason why everyone is emotional over Black Panther and they weren't emotional over Blade is because they're emotional because they love white people and they see this as a way to getting that approval and acceptance from white people. And they believe if they support this movie, they will get support and they will get a reward from white people, which is more black fantasy movies. But that's completely dysfunctional, because the road to creating more black fantasy movies, black sci-fi movies, is for us to create our own movies ourselves, create our own marketplace for ourselves, and create our own platforms for ourselves, and use the tools around us to tell the stories we want to tell, because we've always had that option and we've always had that ability, but we're too spellbound to think outside of the box, like people like Wesley Snipes or Robert Townsend or Ava DuVernay, who wound up telling their own stories because the mainstream companies wouldn't do it. We shouldn't have to look for Marvel Studios to make a black superhero movie. We should have done this ourselves years ago, and we would have done it ourselves years ago if black people didn't love white people so much. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.